this is your host, Julia Napini. I am a clinical and forensic social worker who owns a counseling practice and a consulting business. In this show, we discuss the challenges of being successful in business while maintaining your integrity and staying true to yourself. Join me while I interview other professionals and share insights from life and experience. Let's talk about RingRx, our latest sponsor. RingRx is a high-quality, HIPAA-compliant telephone, text, and fax communications platform. They provide seamless, cost-effective communications for behavioral therapists, medical practices, hospitals, and other healthcare providers. RingRx is designed for modern healthcare environments. They offer customizable features like a phone app, automated patient outreach, voicemail, after-hours call routing, and top-quality desk phones. Try RingRx for free today at ringrx.com. And if you sign up using the code CLIMB, you'll get 15% off your monthly bill forever. Conditions apply. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Compassionate Climb podcast. Our guest today is someone that I am excited to learn more about. She is in my own community. We serve a lot of the same individuals. We are continually sending referrals back and forth to one another. We have participated in some networking events and are really passionate about the work that we do, the people that we serve. And I also think that it's so fascinating to connect with people from all over the world, but I really appreciate those that understand the unique nuances of working in the area that we do. So, Elena Cetola, welcome to the show.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm thrilled to have you. So, fill everyone in, and me as well, your career climb. Give us some background on how it is that you got to be doing what it is that you're doing now.
Yeah, so I think I always wanted to do I always wanted to have a business. I just didn't always know what it was. And so for those who are listening now, we were talking about how I was born in Peru. We came here when I was probably 5 or 6. So I think I was born in a hospital that's called Good Hope. And I feel like I always had that like good hope in my mind, like that's going to be my business. I just didn't know what it was. Just like coming from another country, speaking another language. I was the third of three kids that my parents had. They had a life, a house, things over there, but when you have kids, I think you want to give them the best opportunities they can, or you want to make sure they grow up somewhere that will have better opportunities for them than you did. So I think that was their reasoning for coming here. I'm so glad they did. I don't know that they agree. I think they question, was it the right thing? Because it's so hard to be an immigrant and come and, if you have a life over there, you have support from family, and then you come and it's just you. It's very different than you're like working all the time. So I think there was a lot of that. I think I witnessed like hard work from my parents, and even my sister she's 8 years older. So when we got here, she was probably an adolescent ready to start working, and she did. So you don't really see that too much, right? In a young adolescent who starts working a lot to provide for the family too. So I think I witnessed a lot of hardworking people. As a child, you don't really understand everything, but now looking back, it's always been like so motivational. And then also you want to work to help people that or help yourself or have more support, around, so that other people don't have to go through a lot of the struggles. And I think that was probably like my motivator, and I think business is hard. Having a business is hard. You have to work hard for it. And I think that's probably like a motivator for me of like, it's okay to work hard. You can work hard, and either way, you're going to work hard. But if you do it for yourself and you do it in a way that will give back to what you may have needed in the past. I think it's like full circle and it's so rewarding.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Okay, so business ownership is where you saw yourself. You didn't really know how that would evolve. So, what
Mhm.
led you down the nursing track and ultimately to become a nurse practitioner?
It's so wild because nothing specific. So I never, because growing up, like different cultures, I didn't have like parents saying like, "Oh, go to college." I didn't have parents saying you should get good grades, your GPA is important. No one really said that to me, and I didn't know that it would be important. Um, so I never really knew what I was gonna do. When I was in high school, there was like a course where you can rotate through different like certificates like childcare, cosmetology, CNA, and then I think I did baking. They were all really cool, but I ended up getting into a CNA course, and then that's what took me into like the CNA area. I had great
Interesting.
teachers. Yeah, yeah. So I guess the point was like once you graduate high school, you have a CNA certificate, and I was like, well, if I can't get into college, that's what I can do. Um, so I think my evolution was always like, what's like, what can I get right now? And I can stay there, and that's okay. But if I do more, like that's okay too. So I did the CNA part. I got my certificate. I think because I didn't know about, how important attendance and GPA was, I didn't really have like a good, you know, I didn't really have like a good, I guess, resume for college. Um, and I remember like my guidance counselor was like, I really don't think you're going to get into any nursing programs. But I do think I did well with writing like my intro essay, my essay. I always like enjoyed writing. It's like I pour my heart into it, so it's not like a very like concrete I want to go to your college kind of thing. It's like I'm really passionate about caring for people at this point, and I really want to go to your college. So then I got into nursing school um, at UMass Dartmouth, but I didn't. I didn't think I was going to get in. So I was planning to join the army. I was actually yeah. And then my mom would not sign off on it. So I had to wait until I was 18, which is going to be January 7th. Um, and then a week before January 7th, I got my acceptance letter into a nursing program. Um, so I was like, okay, I guess I won't go to to the military, but I really didn't think I would get into a nursing program. So that was my plan.
Hmm.
I feel like it kind of like to me now looking back, it's like everything happens for a reason. And like your path is your path for a reason, and what's gonna happen is gonna happen, like in the way it should happen, you know?
Yeah.
So then I did nursing. I didn't really know what specialty I would do. Um, and then I had to do like a mentorship with a nurse, and I didn't really know anyone. So at the time I was doing work study at the college, and one of the phlebotomists said you should work with my wife. She'd love you. You'd love her. Please, like he was like, please, my wife, you know. And then she had never had any students before. Um, I guess I was her first, but she was so passionate about psychiatry. She was so respectful. So she was a nurse on the Rogers unit at St. Luke's before it closed. And she had been there forever, and it was just like such a great experience spending with her. Like I think it was 120 hours of like just being on the floor. And I could see where like being respectful, being kind, regardless of like what this other person may be presenting for, um, it always helped them, and having like a different way of treating them was not helpful. So I had like such a good experience that I was like, I think I want to do psych. So um, after I became a nurse, I worked for a little bit as a nurse, and then it's really hard. So I was like, no, I think I want to go back to school. And then I went to Regis and I did like part time. I worked a lot as a nurse and I did school, just like a few courses. And then it just goes by so fast. And then I did my, my program, the clinicals, and then I graduated as a psych NP from there in 2017. So that's like the educational portion.
Yeah. So how did you go from there to where you are now of starting your own practice, having a group, having people work under
Yeah.
you?
Yeah. So I'm like a DIYer and I feel like I have a lot of energy. So, if someone's like, oh, you can hire someone to do your deck, and then I'm like, okay, what am I hiring them for? So then I look online and I'm like, I can do that. I can, it's like, again, I'm going in a tangent, but I guess the point is like I started working at different places and they were all very cool. I had good experiences, but sometimes there wasn't great leadership and I was like, I could do this better, like if I had an employee, I would talk to them this way or that way, or if I had an employee, I wouldn't like overwhelm them with so many people. Like it's a 10-minute follow up. You can't do that, So, but I guess I really liked the power that people had to say, here's a 10-minute follow up. You need to do what you have to do within that time frame. And I totally disagreed. And then I think I wanted to be the one to say, no, you don't have to do a 10-minute follow up. You can take 20 minutes, you can take 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So I'd like to be like maybe be in control of that, So
Mhm.
I worked for about a year and then I think something must have happened where, it was pretty much this, but maybe just like a tough week of it all. And then I just hyper focused on creating a business. I read up on all the state laws and the federal laws, and I read like a book about nurse practitioners, legal and ethical business practices. She had another edition, so I bought the other edition and I read that other one too. So yeah, it was in 2018 in November when I started doing that. I was just like waking up at 5, reading, 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 going to bed at like, I don't know, 10. But then it was like so interesting. So I did it. I didn't start seeing anyone until May 2019. And it was just me for about a year or so. I enjoyed it, but it was for me it was like a little side gig that I was enjoying to doing. I was like not making a profit because I was buying a couch for for the office, and that was okay, it was fun. But then I was like what am I doing, like I am dedicating my heart to community mental health, which I absolutely loved, and I wanted to just let my business kind of hang out because that's the fun part. And then I was dedicating my energy and my heart into this someone else's dream. And I love that. But then I was like, why am I doing that when I could be doing this? And why do I even have this in the first place? So then I was like, I have to do this. I have little kids. And the whole point of doing it is so we have more freedom, not so we can work a lot more for another company and do this on the side. So then I kind of like had to force myself to leave the community mental health place. I loved it. Um, so I was like, nope, we have to do like something black and white. Here's my last day. I'm leaving. And I was so sad about it, but I knew it was for the best. And now looking back, I'm glad I did it. But um, yeah, so we did that. I did that. And then I looked into hiring. It's very hard. I interviewed a lot of people. I'm like a person that goes off of like vibes that I get from people. So, um, and it's so hard because sometimes people have loans and people have bills and kids and they do want more money, and that's cool. Like I want to give you as much as I can, but I never wanted that to be the focus of the business. So if you're working with me, it's not for money, it's because you care about people. And so I think, interviewing a lot of people, it was like, do I get this vibe? Do you care more about people than profits? Because if it's not that, it's not going to work here. Um, so I think I interviewed for a very long time. And then it was getting to the point where I'd tell my husband, like, oh, they have the resume. They're okay. They're probably just not my vibe, but I mean, is that okay? And he would just say no. He would say, no, just wait, just wait. Like the right person will come along. Just wait. And that's what happened. The right person came along. I think she'll probably watch this. So her name is Melanie. And I spent like an hour and a half or an hour interviewing her. And then my husband's like, I'm guessing that interview went well. And it did. And so I guess that's when I realized, okay, you can hire someone, you can take your time. The right person will come along. And don't be so rushed that you kind of like give away, your values for something else that you wanted. So that's how
Mhm.
the team started growing.
Wow. Yeah, there's so many parts of your story that parallel my own. I relate so
Yeah.
much to you. But I think the piece that's so helpful for those in the audience to hear is that when you make that decision to expand your business and you're going to be bringing on employees, it
Mm-hmm.
can be really hard when you have all of these viable candidates and they have the education and potentially
Mm-hmm.
the skills, but something feels off. And we can get into this place of scarcity where, well, I have the space and I furnish the
Yeah.
space and I have all of these clients that are looking for services. Do I maybe compromise or kind of acquiesce to fill a spot? And I think a
Yeah.
lot of us can make that quote unquote mistake in the beginning. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't, but it can be a lot more of a headache if you bring
Mm-hmm.
someone on that isn't necessarily the right fit and it doesn't work than those times when maybe it will. So I have a lot of respect for the fact that you really waited until it was right. And then what did the growth look like from that point? So you brought on the first person that sounds like is still with you, was a
Mm-hmm.
really good fit. And
Mm-hmm.
then what was the growth process like from that point?
It was very quick. So for some reason, I had been interviewing for so many months, almost a year, and then all of a sudden, I met everyone I really liked right away, and they all were good fits. So Melanie, I hired in January. Megan, I hired, I think she started in February. Lori started in March. So it happened so fast, not
Yeah.
on purpose. And then I think I hired them around the same time, but I tried to stagger them just for myself so I don't have to like onboard everyone at the same time. Um, so it happened pretty fast. And then I try not to ask for too much. Like I try not to say, you have 10 minutes for a follow up. Because we do private practice, I try to have them adjust their schedule, book the follow ups at the time that works for you. If you have your child's play, please block your schedule. We'll reschedule these clients, so make sure that it kind of works for them. So we started off slowly, and everyone had like another job, um, which I think was helpful for me. I never offered like, here's a 40-hour position. It was like, let's go with 8 hours a week and start from there. Also, you have a feeling that it's going to work, but you don't always know. So I think we did like 1 day a week, 8 hours, no pressure. And then over time, if we did well, if this was a good fit, we could increase your hours. And that's kind of how we started. And then we increased, they're increasing their hours or their days as they can to work more. So it kind of like exploded after that.
Yeah, awesome. And so, did you have a vision when you first started hiring, whether it would strictly just be prescribers, if you would add in therapists? What was your vision? And then, what does the practice look like today?
So actually, backtracking, the first person that started working with me, she's not an employee, so she's a contractor. It is Cindy. So she started, I don't know if it was 2023, I think it was. So she started working for me, but again, I was like, no pressure, do your thing. And essentially it was really just someone that I could refer to my clients, because my clients needed therapy. Everyone is full everywhere. So she was just someone that I could refer to. She also started like very, low, like 8 hours a week, and then increase as you want to. And she was able to like adjust her schedule. Um, I think I looked into having therapists, but I didn't love the fact that I would need to learn the licensing requirement you guys have, or, like your documentation. We do things differently, and that's okay. I didn't want to be I didn't want to look into it. I just didn't. It's not my thing. It wasn't an interest for me. And I know, like, if it's not an interest for me and I force myself to do it, I can do it, but I'm not going to enjoy it. And that's not the
Right.
point of this. So that's why I guess Cindy is with us in a role that it's very, like, kind of like uninvolved from like what I have to do. And so now we also have Carla Mo doing kind of the same thing, and we love having them. So the benefit for us is we have somewhere like that will get them in pretty quickly, and it's in like the same office. I don't have a vision to hire anyone like as an employee for therapy, just because again, I can just refer them to you, or we have a list of referrals for other local companies, and that's great. That has worked well for me. It's not my thing to do. So yeah, that's what it's looking like now.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Okay. And so we talked a little bit before we started recording about how you are in the process of making a shift
Yeah.
into the coaching realm, and how
Hmm.
this has really come from your experience in leadership, and how a lot of us can find ourselves in a position like this where we're managing a team and we
Yeah.
realize how maybe we have some inherent skills, but that there's also a lot of room for us to learn and grow to become the leader that our team
Hmm.
deserves. And so share about your leadership journey in group practice and how you see that shifting into the coaching space.
Yeah, I think we all, like, there's a leader in all of us, right? But we sometimes don't know it, we don't feel it, or sometimes we just need to um, feel more confident about it. And so I found myself like 1 or 2 years ago saying, "Oh my God, I just hired like such amazing people. Oh my God, now what?" Maybe it was like an imposter syndrome, like I'm gonna ruin this, I'm gonna do something I shouldn't, or I'm gonna say the wrong thing. And that was scary for me because it was hard to find people. I had to be patient. And now when they're here, what if I don't know how to do conflict resolution the right way, or how, if they disagree with something, how will I handle it? So I know, like, I'm not being reactive. So I know I'm speaking from a place that I care about you as a person, but also my role is to care about the company. So I think after having the team, I realized I need to do a lot of self work when it came to leadership. So I
Mm-hmm.
started doing a lot of reading books, conferences, a lot of training. I signed up for one that was coaching. I just didn't realize it until I got my certificate, and I was like, I guess I'm a coach. But I think I had been doing that with my team a lot, like guiding them, helping them. um, a couple of the nurse practitioners were entry level, so they needed support, and I loved being there for them, and I still do. So I was kind of already doing that in the first place. The reason I love coaching is because now that I've done a lot of this like leadership training, I realized that like leaders, regardless of where you are in business, if you're running a meat market or a psych and P practice, you're still going to have a lot of the same feelings of, there's like always that imposter syndrome, but then you're always going to need to talk to a team, develop your team, work with your team, and be able to have conversations with them. Again, regardless of where you are. And I love that. I love kind of just learning about the different types of businesses. I think people can be wherever and still learn to develop themselves and other people. so that's where I love the coaching, because in coaching, I don't come in as a psych NP and say, well, you could try this med or that med. That's probably for a supervisor or a mentor, versus coaching is more of like, I'm guiding you, so you do what you want to do, how you say you're going to do it. I'm just here to help, like push you or help you through it. And that takes away the need for my specific expertise as a psych NP, and it just comes in from a different perspective.
Mm-hmm. Okay, awesome. So what was your biggest takeaway from your leadership training?
People are valuable, and I mean, I knew that, I already knew that, but um I don't know if you've experienced this, because I think you're awesome, right? But I think I may have experienced maybe like the scarcity mindset where, I have reached out to a lot of business owners, like psych NPs, and said, hey, let's work together, let's communicate, hey, I want to refer to you. And then honestly, like for the most part, I have been ignored, and that's okay. Like I know my energy is high, so I'm like, hey, let's do this together, and I might scare people, that's okay. But I think I like the feedback I get from some of my friends is like, why are you so nice? Like you really don't have to like work with other psych NPs. You can just do your own thing. And I'm like, no, but that's like, we can work together. And that's what you're doing, Julia, because I've heard like your podcast and all that. And I'm like, thank God there are more people out there. There's so many more people. But before that, I didn't know. So I'm like, so what I'm getting is like, I'm just this odd person that wants to work with people. And now like I've been listening to your podcast, I'm like, oh my God, that's so awesome. There's so many more people out there that are like that. um
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, I forgot the question.
Oh, and now I'm ready to go off on a whole other tangent because I can relate so much to what you're describing of how, you think maybe in the beginning that your people should be the people that have a similar training, their day to day looks similar. But in all reality, I have found very much the same, that as I broaden the horizons a little bit, and as I maybe filter through, and if you put that energy or that effort out there and you're not necessarily met with what you were expecting, that you don't let that hold you back, right? This is your personality. This is who you are. And so you just continue to weed through and find your people.
Yeah.
And it's been fascinating to me that many of them are not necessarily even in the mental health space. And as I've been doing more consulting and podcasting,
Mm-hmm.
some of the most enjoyable conversations that I have had are with people who there's some element of relatability,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not necessarily in the way that I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
So share what your experience has been like most recently as you've continued to try to find your people.
Yeah, and again, that's why I'm here, right? So it's been cool to like just I think I'm an introvert, but I don't know. So I've always been like afraid to speak, like social settings, not my thing. I was always like a person who loved to stay home, but you can't be a business owner and want to develop other people by staying home and trying not to develop connections. So I've had to do that. And honestly, like when I speak with people who value people like you do, the conversation is so different. We're both like trying to figure out like, how do we do this so more people benefit? And it doesn't matter
Mm-hmm.
how, or like, it doesn't matter why, but we just want people to do better for themselves.
Yeah.
And that kind of just
Right.
that's like the financial benefit, but it's not actually financial. It's like in our hearts, that's a benefit, and
Mm-hmm.
that's okay. Like I love that. So I think what I've learned is like when you meet people like that, you feel more comfortable, and you grow more, even if it's just as a person or in business. Like you said, we're referring to one another, but that's not the point. The point isn't like, hey, I want to talk to you because I want you to refer to my business. It's more because you have some really cool stuff going on. I loved literally like every podcast. I was like, oh, I relate to that. Oh, I could have used that. This is so useful. I like this. Every single podcast so far I've heard, I'm like, oh, this is great.
Great.
So we're like learning from one another. So I think it's
Yeah.
like people, if we value people, we learn
Mhm.
so much from people and we grow, like we benefit personally. And I guess that's the goal, right? So we want to benefit as people, but I've learned that by helping other people, we're doing that for them and for ourselves too. Mm-hmm.
Well, it sounds like what you're referring to is impact. I think what we're all ultimately trying to do is increase the level of impact. And we recognize that we can only do so much as one person. And I know when I was sitting in the therapy room providing one on one counseling,
Mm-hmm.
it was valuable. It had purpose. It built my skill set. It was such a solid foundation and it was fulfilling, but there was something missing. And so, especially being in the community that we are, which can be very
Mm-hmm.
underserved, provide quality mental health treatment and to be able to do that in a way that's affordable for everyone, that meant taking insurance, which can be a
Mm-hmm.
very big challenge. And so I think from there, it's the impact. How can I increase and be able to help more people on the client side, but also employ more people to work in an environment that is conducive to them being their best self. And so I know what we do at Compassionate Counseling. I am very confident that you strive for the same.
Mm-hmm.
What are some things within your group that you have found to be the most helpful to really nurture your team members and assist them in becoming the best versions of themselves?
So when I hired them, and I had a little freak out because I'm like, oh my God, now I have to lead them. Um, I realized that I can't lead them properly if I'm not leading myself. Um, if I'm not leading myself properly. So by that I mean I'm also a person. I also make mistakes. I can also be late with my documentation, right? So, in order for my team members to feel comfortable in their roles, I needed to let them know that I don't expect perfection from you. I don't expect that you're going to be someone who knows how to lead themselves, who finishes their documentation on time, who never makes mistakes. And that's so hard when you're in professional practice because in school you're kind of drilled with like be professional, be ethical, do not self disclose, do not be a person. So I know when I started practice, I was like a robot, and I was strict. And my supervising psychiatrist, and he was my preceptor too, he was so strict. And I loved him for all that. I think he was very knowledgeable, but there's like the people component that we tend to miss because we're pressuring ourselves to be perfect and we don't want to make any ethical mistakes. So we're this like kind of uptight. I don't know if other people were, but I know like it was hard for me. And so now that I have these newer NPs in my group, I'm like, I don't want them to feel this way. So how do I let them know that it's okay to not be like that? So I had to
Mhm.
start self-disclosing a little bit. And then I'd even start by saying, hey, listen, like I have never self-disclosed. I hate self-disclosing. This is horrible, but you're going to be my test subjects. Because in order, and I noticed, if I would tell them like, yeah, I have anxiety, I've experienced this, and it kind of like brings it down for them of like, oh, like me too. And then we talk about it and we're like, yeah, how about we try, let's try this or let's try that, or like I'm trying this thing and it's working for me. So I think something that has helped kind of bring everyone together is like be just me being human and letting them know I'm human, you're human. Did you make a mistake? Okay, how do we go about this? How did the mistake happen? Was it like, are you overwhelmed? Are you not having enough lunches? It's not about how like, you know, you made a mistake, you're written up kind of thing. It's like, how do we make sure this doesn't happen in the future if there was a mistake?
I appreciate that. So, as a perfectionist and a rule follower through and
Yeah.
through, I have also had to do a lot of work on this myself,
Hmm.
where in order to create the type of environment where your team feels comfortable enough to be honest when they have made a mistake and it's a psychologically safe place and people know that there's this desire to understand and peel back the layers a little bit
Hmm.
more, and help me understand from this place of curiosity what went on there. But then there's also a component where we're responsible for being clear in our expectation of other people. What is the standard that we're expecting? And then from there, if that's not met, to assume that there's more going on there, that we don't have the
Mhm.
full story. And so I think so much of it, you're right, is our approach and how we have those conversations. And I think when we can lead with, I am also imperfect, and we
Mhm.
all have areas where we have strengths and where we struggle, then that opens the conversation to have a little bit more vulnerability. It normalizes our experience. We're not in this alone. And then that's a great launch pad
Yeah.
for what do we do from here? How do we improve? How do we make things
Mhm.
better? So I think that's a great piece for those maybe earlier in their leadership journey to keep in mind. But even
Yeah.
those of us that have been doing this for a little while, that you never want to lose sight of that, and
Yes.
reminding each of us that we're all human, and that, we can
Mhm.
assume that we're all trying to do the best that we can at any given moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Mhm.
So, what are some thoughts that you would like to leave us with today about those that are listening that might be in the stages that we were at earlier on? Maybe they're considering starting their own business, but they're hesitant. Or maybe they have this desire to hire more people as a part of their team, and they're nervous about what that's going to be like. What would you say to them now at this point in your journey, looking back on the last couple of years?
The biggest thing I say, so whenever someone says like, I want to do a business, I say do it. And I knew I was like playing around with the idea, but I went to my husband's grandfather, who like I just trust him, love him. And I just kind of I was like, I'm thinking of doing this. He was like, do it. And he's like almost 100. So I'm like, I'm gonna do it just because you said that. So whenever someone says like I want to open a business, I'm like, do it. However, business ownership is like 24/7. You don't walk away from that, you know? And so you have to be the type of person who's willing to be on 24/7. Some people want to do business so they can make a lot of money, and that's cool, but there's a lot of effort before you make a lot of money that you need to
Mhm.
put on. So if you're willing to put in that hard work, do it. But just know that there's going to be a lot of hard work, and that's okay. The other thing, going back now, like if I were to talk to myself, I knew I was going to do it. The other thing would be use mentors, use coaches, use there are a lot of people out there that are dedicating themselves to helping you succeed like we are.
Mhm.
Use them. You don't have to do it on your own. And this is something you like a lot of, all the first episodes I've been listening to, everyone's kind of resonating with the same message. There is so much support. You don't have to do this on your own. Use the people that are kind of focusing on this, because again, we want to help people develop themselves. We want to help people grow, and that's what we're there for. So going back, I wish I had used more support. I wish I had searched for more like coaches or mentors and kind of gone with that.
Mhm. Yeah. Okay. What a great note to leave off on. So, share with everyone more about your practice, how they can find you if they're interested in seeking out services and are in the same area as us in Massachusetts, or if they're intrigued by the idea of the coaching that you'll be offering.
Great. Yeah. So Good Hope Wellness is a psychiatric nurse practitioner led group private practice in Somerset, Massachusetts. We do in person and telehealth. We love the in person part um, because we just like have a better connection. But we do have some telehealth only clients. You can find us on just Google Good Hope Wellness. The website goodhopewellnessinc.com. We are on social media as well. Good Hope Wellness for Instagram and Facebook. If you want to find me on Instagram, that's probably the easiest one for me to kind of manage. It's Elena Cetola NP on Instagram. So you can find us there, send us a message. And if you're interested in the coaching part, you can use that Elena Cetola NP and just send me a message on there.
Awesome. Well, I am not touching that dial. Thank you so much
Yeah.
for your willingness to be on the show, what you shared today, and for being the type of business owner that you are.
Thank you for having me.
If you like what you're hearing, please rate and review. This will help others find us and benefit as well. The Compassionate Climb podcast represents the opinions of Julia Napini and her guests. The information provided is intended for educational purposes only and should not be taken as legal advice. If that is what you are seeking, please consult an attorney.